I'm Melissa and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to look at a beginner's yoga flow. So if you're a beginner, this is definitely the class for you, but if you are a more advanced yogi, you've been practicing yoga maybe for a year or two, then sometimes it's really nice to come back to basics, so this could also be a class for you as well. So we are just going to start in a comfortable seated position. And that might be a cross-leg seated position, it might be legs extended out, however you feel comfortable sitting. You might also sit on a little block or maybe have a blanket or anything that's going to make you feel comfortable. So from here, just roll the shoulders away from the ears and start to find that extension and length into the spine. And when you're ready, just close off your eyes. And just relaxing the whole body, releasing the mind. And just focus on your breath, and just as it is. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So in yoga, we really breathe in through the nose, gathering the breath in towards the lungs, into front ribs, side ribs, and back ribs. And then as you exhale, you're really drawing navel in towards the spine, so you've got that core connection, almost that scooping in of the lower abdominals, and you're sending that energy upwards towards the ribs. It's keeping that knitting in of the core as you breathe, so full inhale and full exhale. And you want to try and hear the sound of your breath as well. But try not to force anything too much, too soon. And you're trying to match the inhales with the exhales as well. It's just noticing. And yoga is all about finding length and space into parts of the body where we might have been stuck once before. And while we start to open up the body in different ways, we really want to focus on the breath. So take one last big inhale through the nose, and this breath stays with us as we practice. And then exhale out. And then slowly, when you're ready, opening through the eyes. And inhale, we'll just reach the arms all the way up to the sky. So big sweep of the arms, gaze comes up, palms touch. And exhale, palms just float through heart center. And then from here, we're going to take our right hand outside of the hip. Maybe place it onto a block, maybe it's a book, maybe it's the floor. And then inhale, start to sweep that left arm all the way up and over by the ear. It can come up to the sky if your shoulder is completely tight, or sweep it all the way up and over. Maybe you have a slight bend into that right elbow. So we're just starting to get this stretch into the side body. You're welcome to gaze down, gaze to the side, or gaze all the way up to the sky. And so just starting to release some tension. You might notice that you hold a lot of tightness into the side body. Take one last inhale through the nose. And then as you exhale, slowly coming back up to that seated position. We'll go for the other side. So this time, left hand sneaks out by the hip. Inhale, start to reach that right arm all the way up and over. And just leaning into this stretch. And side body opening, maybe gazing up to the sky, and you're allowing the pinky finger to turn down towards the floor, so you've got that release into the shoulder. You're keeping the ribs hugging in, so you don't want to pop the ribs up towards the sky. Everything is in one line. Take one last breath in, maybe leaning even more, keeping the sit bones grounded. And then inhale, slowly coming back to center. And go for a hip stretch. So inhale, extending both arms up towards the sky. Exhale, start to walk the fingertips out in front of you. Just be mindful here, so we're starting to get into the hips. If your legs are straighter, really bend into the knees. And inhale, find that length and space. Exhale, folding forward. Relaxing head, relaxing gaze. And you might be completely upright, and that's absolutely fine, but try and extend the chest forward. And exhale, folding. And taking one last breath here. And then inhale, slowly rising up to center. And we'll come to a tabletop position, so planting the hands underneath the shoulders, and take your knees directly underneath the hips, pressing the earth away. And from here, we'll go for a few rounds of cat and cow. So inhale, start to drop the belly, lifting up through the heart and the chest. Heart is moving through the gates of the arms. Tailbone is really lifting up towards the sky. And exhale, find that roundness into the spine here, so pressing the earth away. Let's do 2 more rounds. So inhale, find this length into the chest, openness. And then exhale, finding the rounding into the spine. So imagine here that you're hugging a big beach ball. So energetically, your forearms are moving back towards your knees. And then inhale, last time. Exhale, rounding, pressing the earth away. And then from here, coming back to center, we'll tuck the toes under. I'm going to go for our first downward facing dog. So really press the earth away. And inhale. When you're ready, start to extend hips up towards the sky. You're welcome to have a slight bend into the knees. Keep that extension, that length into the spine. Crown of the head is dropping down towards ground. You really want to start to open out through the shoulders here, but keeping the shoulders rolling away from those ears. So you've got lots of space into the back of the neck. And if you're ready, you can straighten out through one leg, just noticing what that feels like, starting to get into the hamstrings, into the calves. Maybe then you straighten out through another leg. And just switching from side to side, keeping that space into the spine as well. And when you're ready, you're welcome to keep both knees bent, keeping that extension, tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling, or maybe then start to straighten out through both legs. And the heels might not drop down towards the ground, and that's completely fine. Keeping that engagement of the core, ribs hugging in. Take a big breath in. And out. From here, looking forward between the hands. And we'll step the right foot forward in between the hands. So really pick up from your core here. And you might step it halfway, and then you just shift the leg forward. Drop that back knee to the ground. We're coming into a low lunge. And pressing right hip back, left hip forward. The knee is stacked directly on top of the ankle. And then inhale with all that space and lift from the chest. Start to extend the arms up. You're welcome to keep the hands here as well. Maybe you come onto blocks. And then eventually, maybe arms extend up towards the sky. So really press into that front foot. So you've got this lift. Neutrality into the hips, slight tuck of the tailbone. Energy is moving up through the arms. Take one last breath here. And exhale, planting the hands down either onto the floor, maybe onto blocks or those books. And then start to shift the hips back, straightening out through that leg. And the leg might not be fully straight. You might have that slight bend into the knee. So you really want to try and have the stretch into the belly of the hamstring rather than the hamstring attachment. And you don't want to feel any sharp sensations into the legs as well. So flexing into those right toes. And then inhale, we'll find that lift, length into the spine. And then on a soft exhale, just start to melt into this hamstring stretch and just breathe. And with time, the body will really start to open up. So you might notice for this beginner's flow, if you are a complete beginner, that your hamstrings feel really, really tight in this posture. Eventually, your hamstrings will start to open up into this pose, especially with practice, patience, kindness. And then drop the sole of that foot down on the ground, shifting forward. Planting the hands down, framing that front foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee off the ground. And from here, we're going to step into a high plank pose. Really press the floor away. You're welcome to drop the knees down to the ground, maybe tuck the toes under, or keep the heels and the knees lifted up towards the sky. Taking a few breaths in, making sure that your shoulders are directly on top of the wrists. From here, we're going to go for a first chaturanga, so shifting forward, lowering slowly all the way down to the ground, grounding the chest down. And we'll take the fingertips out towards the side. You maybe just tent fingertips out, almost as if you've got a little cupcake underneath. And press the knees up towards the sky, engage into your core, and start to lift the upper back off the ground. So heart is moving forward, chest is lifting. And then exhale, slowly lowering down, curving, spine back down towards the floor. From here, tuck the back toes under, placing the hands directly underneath the shoulders. We're going to press the floor away. Strong push. And then exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. So just walking, maybe hands slightly further towards feet. One common thing that happens in a downward facing dog, especially if you're a beginner, is that you take your downward facing dog too wide. So maybe you walk the feet in ever so slightly. Let's go for the opposite side, so look forward in between the hands. This time we'll step the left foot forward in between the hands this time. Drop that back knee down to the ground, tuck the toes under. Left knee is directly stacked on top of the ankle. And if you need to sit more upright as well, or if you need that padding for your knees, please do. And when you're ready, just climbing the chest up towards the sky. Maybe fingertips, maybe blocks, maybe you extend arms all the way up. And keeping that long line of energy. The breath is moving softly in through the nose, out through the nose. As you inhale, maybe you can create more space into the body. And then as you exhale, maybe you melt further into this posture. So you should really start to feel the stretch into this right hip flexor. Right heel is moving back behind you. You've got this long length. And then as you exhale, planting the hands either onto those blocks, maybe fingertips down to the floor. And then start to extend out through that front leg. So we're coming into a half Hanumanasana, half split pose. This can be quite intense onto the hamstrings. So flexing into the feet, slight bend into the knees. Inhale, find that lift. And then exhale, just start to soften into the pose. And you might be completely upright as long as you can start to feel that stretch into the belly of the hamstring. You might even have a big, deep bend into the knee. It's absolutely fine. Yoga is definitely more about the breath than trying to jam ourselves into this posture. We want to make the posture work for us. Taking one last breath here, maybe just relaxing the head a little bit more. And then bending back into the knee and planting the hands down onto the floor. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee off the ground, and we'll step back into a high plank pose. So really firing up that core. We don't want to feel it into the lower back, so really hug the tailbone under, pressing the earth away. Feel free again if you need to drop those knees down to the ground. Breathe, smile. Don't forget to smile. Take one last breath. Just one more. And then drop the heels down towards the ground, the knees down towards the ground. Send the hips back towards the heels, extending forward. Child's pose. And take one last breath. And slowly from here, just rising up to that kneeling position. And we're going to shift onto our seat, so sitting down. And let's get into a little bit of core before we go into some heart openers and hip stretches. So take the knees together, take the toes to touch, start to extend and lift the chest up towards the sky. So you're just in this seated position. Feel free if you need that extra height to sit onto a block. And just start to lean back ever so slightly. So the toes get lighter and lighter and lighter. Maybe you just lift Toes off the floor, just a few inches, and you can probably feel it firing up around your core. You might also keep toes onto the ground. You might take the hands back behind you, lift the chest. So however you're going to start to feel some work into the center, you might even take the knees 90 degrees, flexing into the feet, toes energizing. Don't forget to breathe here. Everyone forgets to breathe here. And it's most important. Firing up into the hip flexors, firing up into the core, and Navasana, boat pose, everyone's favorite yoga postures. We're just going to hold for one last breath. You might extend the arms forward. And then hug the knees into the chest. And give those knees a little bit of a hug. And from here, planting soles of the feet down onto the ground. Shift the hips slightly forward, extend through the arms. And we're going to roll down slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae. I'm just going to move my microphone off to the side, but you keep rolling all the way down to the ground. Use your core. Lower back, middle back, and then finally, upper back. Hug both knees into the chest. Imprint the whole spine down onto the floor, maybe rocking a little bit from side to side. And take the soles of the feet down onto the ground, hip width distance apart, knees pointing up towards the sky. And then from here, see if you can graze the backs of the ankles with your middle finger. We're going to go for one bridge pose, one heart opening posture. So make it a good one. And planting the hands down onto the floor. And we'll start to lift the hips up towards the sky. Lower back, middle back, and upper back. And you're welcome to also take a block underneath your lower back so you have a supported bridge pose. Imagine that you're squeezing a block in between your inner thighs, so you've got some engagement there. Glutes are really fired up here. Thighs are really on fire. And we're trying to take our chin away from our chest, but chest is moving towards chin. So we're creating a mini bridge into the cervical spine, so into the back of the neck. If you want a little more, you might interlace the fingers back behind you, rocking even further up onto the shoulders. And keeping navel drawing towards the spine, that's your core that's going to really support you in this posture. And slowly, when you're ready, just releasing. Upper back, middle back, lower back. So you're really undulating through the spine here. Hug both knees into the chest. Let's go for a few final stretches before our Shavasana. So taking sole of that left foot down to the ground. Keep that right knee hugged into the chest, flexing into that right foot. We'll place the ankle, right ankle on top of the left knee, and then allow that right knee to move out to the side. It's really important here that you flex into that right foot. That will really protect that right knee joint. And you're welcome just to stay here. If this is enough and you're really feeling it into the right hip, please stick around here. Or threading the arms through, you might take hold of the back of the thigh. If you want even more, you might take hold of the calf. Try and keep the whole spine onto the floor as you breathe here. So inhale. And exhale, just guiding that left knee closer in towards you. And just go wherever you need to. This posture will look completely different on each and every single mat. So just doing what's best for you. The most important part is listening to the body, listening to the breath. And you might allow the exhales to be twice as long as the inhales here. So you inhale. And maybe exhale out for 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just listening to the sound of your own breathing. Take one last breath. And exhale, guiding that left knee maybe an inch closer in towards you. And slowly releasing, hug that right knee into the chest, extending right sole of the foot down onto the ground. We'll go through the side, so flexing into that left foot, Ankle moving onto the right knee, extending this time left knee out to the side. Feel free to stick around here. You might even give yourself a bit of self-adjustment where you guide that left knee out to the side. Or interlacing the fingers behind the thigh, maybe it's the calf. And inhale. And exhale, guiding that right knee in towards you. Trying to keep the lower back onto the ground. The tendency is for the lower back to lift off. And just using the breath to really open into that left hip. Finding some softness through the jaw, into the eyelids, and back of the neck. And the whole spine can just soften down into the floor. One last moment. Big inhale. And exhale out for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Slowly releasing. And from here, just hug both knees into the chest, extend both legs up towards the sky. We'll go for a legs up to the sky inversion. You're welcome to have a slight bend into the knees here. Interlace the fingers behind the thighs. And just breathe. You might start to straighten the legs completely. Balls of the feet moving up towards the sky. You might not even need that support of the hands. You might allow the arms to float either side of the body. Breathing here. And this is our inversion for our practice today, and this is a really lovely inversion. It's really nice to also do it with the support of the wall. Just finding the breath, allowing the reverse flow of blood to move back towards the heart. And slowly just hug both knees into the chest. From here we're going to take the knees all the way over to the left side of the mat. You might scooch the hips 1 inch to the right, extending right arm out. And from here we're trying to keep both shoulder blades rooted towards the floor. It's okay if the knees need to lift off ever so slightly, as long as you're feeling the stretch unraveling from the very middle of the spine. You might gaze out over that right hand. And finding some softness. And finding the breath. And slowly, when you're ready, just hug both knees into the chest. Give yourself a big hug. And we'll go for the other side. Supine twist. Knees drop over towards the right side this time, maybe scooching the hips 1 inch to the left so the hips can be directly into the center of the mat. Extending now, left arm out, left shoulder, right shoulder rooted down towards the floor, just feeling that grounding energy. You might gaze softly over left middle finger. Just allowing the whole body to release and relax into the earth. And just allow the earth to fully rise up and cradle you and support you in this posture. And both knees hug back into the chest, coming back to center. And from here, this is my final and most favorite posture of the yoga practice, Shavasana. This is where you really just get to fully release the whole body into the mat and fully relax, and you completely deserve it. So extending right leg out, extending left leg out, and turning both palms up to face the sky. The ankles can flop slightly out towards the side. And take a big full inhale through the nose, maybe shaking the body loose if you have any tension or tightness. And then exhale, release. And just from a place of softness and gratitude, give yourself this time in our final posture, Shavasana. Just allow the breath to return back to its original natural state of breath. And normally, especially if you are a beginner to the yoga practice, you have this busy mind. So really start to calm the mind so it can become quiet. But we are only human, so you might have a few thoughts that come into the mind, but just allow them to float almost by like a cloud. And you can return back to this beautiful state of breath in this posture. Whenever you're ready, just start to deepen into the breath. Full inhales and full exhales. And start to wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe circle wrists and ankles. And inhale, extending both arms up towards the sky, maybe pointing toes. Maybe extending fully through one arm, then the other. Draw the knees softly into the chest. And just roll all the way over to your right side. So we're coming into a fetal position, extending right arm out, keeping your eyes closed if you can. Maybe planting left hand down into the floor, just feeling that grounding energy, that support from the earth. And slowly extending, left leg out, just peel yourself off the ground, head is the last thing to come up, and we'll just come to a comfortable seated position, just facing me. So back to where we started on our mats today, rolling shoulders away from the ears, find that lift, that length into the spine, and taking hands through heart center, closing off the eyes, bowing chin slightly towards chest. Just giving yourself some gratitude for the time that you've spent on your mats today, nourishing your minds, your bodies, taking some time out for you. And thank you so much. Namaste. And thank you all. Please let me know how you got on.